This is a behind the scenes of a lot of things that I'm trying to work out in my head, put on a blank canvas, both for myself as well as for you to see how I am both processing my thoughts and trying to move forward in a practical way, because I feel quite overwhelmed. So much so that I'm waking up in anxiety about things that I'm not even consciously aware of. Some sense of tremendous change that is both in my space and in the world, and what to do as an individual to navigate this rapid tsunami of change and adaptation. So with that, let's start diving into a few things that's on my mind, starting with the concept of more, better, and new. So first and foremost, I can do more of what I know works, or what I have seen work in the past. I can just do not just 2x, but figure out how to do 10x that and get some amplification of my past results as I move forward. How do I just do more in general, which is messaging more, contacting, content, and overall spending more minutes and hours of my day doing more of the same, which is the most immediate way to get results on something we already have a proven track record of. Now, the problem with more is that it is not efficient. It is just the way we know how to do it. It doesn't get us to 100x results. It gets us some magnification of it, yes, but better is where I think we can go from quantity to quality. So in doing quantity, our brain automatically starts to recognize patterns and say, hey, this could also be done better by if I just did that together in this way or delivered it in this way. And I noticed that in a lot of things that I have to do repetitively, over time, my either mechanical motions become smoother around it, or I start to figure out a quicker and more efficient way of doing the same thing. And that is where doing more leads to better, or we can experiment with the final concept of new. New is the most dangerous because it's unproven. It could lead to a great boost in whatever outcomes we're looking for, or it could be a big time sink. So new is the most precautionary area that I'm trying to both be curious about and know that it can be a huge drain. I want to allocate some portion of my time and resources to the new, in terms of this AI automation, claw code, and for the perplexity computer, and all of these advancements that are happening that seems to be able to automate a lot of things. But could that be a just fugazi of actually not delivering what my clients need, what my audience needs, what actually produces the metrics that we're going for, which is growth. Growth in what? Let's say audience reached, conversions, the dollars that come in from top line to bottom line. There's a lot of actual metrics that we need to measure to know if the new is actually working, or if it's just busyness that leads to not the actual needle we care about moving forward, going. So there's a famous quote that says, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. So what is it that we are not measuring right now to get it managed? For example, what we're doing that actually produces results. When I think about that as an individual, it is the simple human connections of not just producing the content, which is what I'm doing right now, as well as in other forms of video content, but also conversations. More on an intimate level, more on providing the little gaps that's needed for people to move forward in the decision-making process, and to supply them with the resources that they need to take advantage of an opportunity that is in our ecosystem, in our portfolio. How can I do that better? That is where systems come into play. I'm going from this manual doing everything myself. There's this idea of a squared wheel. As you can imagine, that's not going to be that efficient to a circular wheel. Looks like a nippy, but I'm trying to figure out that process of carving out these edges of inefficiencies and making it more round. So this is the big picture idea. How to actually get there is a lot of meta management. It is not just the day-to-day working in the business, but working on the business. But I think it, like going from all of these theoretical things in my head, like it would be nice to have these efficiencies, it would be nice to have these automations, it would be nice to have those things. What I know in the here and now today, which is the most practical thing, is just how many hours have I devoted to my craft today? And the answer is not enough. And it's trying to skip the quantity and go to quality. It's trying to skip the doing the hard work and trying to jump to smart work. And more than I want to just take the time to figure that out, I realize that it's like trying to figure out how to do a backstroke in terms of swimming, and you're not in the water to learn how to do regular swimming and the motions of your limbs. So the hours are what will help us to figure out everything else, to say, hey, how can I message more people? How can I get back to more people? How can I do the things that I'm doing on a 6, 8, 10 hour daily basis? And gradually, let's say in that same 10 hours of work, which by the way, I don't think I'm putting in right now, if I were to actually measure the amount of minutes, then I would realize that the magic that I'm looking for is inside of the work that I'm avoiding, or the work that I'm not putting in the hours in. It's like, okay, I know that I want to go from here, which is like small money, to there, which is big money. And this is only going to happen by not magic, but work. Now, of course, work doesn't have to be something we dread. I know what it's like to dread work. That is involuntary choice of my hours, of what I do, of the coworkers, of when I can have a lunch break. I know what that's like to work a traditional clocking in, clocking out job. I've done many of those, overnight, daytime, many odd jobs, from like being a line cook after med school dropout. By the way, I even applied to be a dishwasher at an Italian pizza restaurant. I was $100,000 in debt. My parents were disappointed that I dropped out of medical school.
Yeah, you could be a doctor.
Yeah, I could have been a doctor. And I'm glad I'm not. And we wouldn't meet if I was a doctor, so...
Yeah, I could have married a billionaire.
Yeah, you could have.
Yeah.
And you still can.
No, because I love you.
It's like asking the question, would you kiss the prettiest girl in the world, or would you kiss me? And you're like, for how much for the prettiest girl? Anyway, back to this sort of thought process. As I evolve, I want to share with you the behind the scenes of my thinking, because before we get to these higher degrees of things like AI, automation, there is this, the quantity of just doing more, which can already be life-changing. And not just that, this can produce the money we need to be able to expand into quality. Think about the amount of hours that we are actually putting in on a daily basis to do what is known as, who here in the comments can write out what IPA stands for? If you don't yet know, it is the most important thing that we can do in the hours of our work to drive our growth forward, which is income.
Oh, there is so much IPA in business.
Income producing activities. What are IPAs in your business? What are IPAs that actually move you forward? Being mindful of those metrics, managing those, will get us more money. So when I think about what are my IPAs, it is content, communication, and that's about it. Honestly, it's about producing content and just relaying that to personal communication. So this is general to a audience of people. Hey guys, there is this going on, project A, B, C, X, Y, Z, about this and that. And then the communication is more personal. And that, of course, is where we go from the YouTube views to the Telegram for individual communication of, okay, I'm interested in this or that. I have this question that wasn't answered, or how do I get started? Or what about this element? Or what are the resources to help us grow? All of those things. So between content and communication are where my hours of more quantity will lead to more dollars that I can reallocate to better improving the process, hiring some staff that can help me to better deliver content, and I guess allow me to focus on communication more throughout the day. Some ways that I can improve both content and communication. Let's narrow in on my IPA to say, okay, content, how can I improve that? And then we'll dive into communication. Content, first and foremost, numbers. How many pieces of content am I producing? And then how am I delivering it? Can I do more? Yes. The simple answer is yes. If my life depended on it, if my wife depended on it, I could definitely do more. And how do I drive about doing more? There's a great concept that narrowing the time from when I wake up, each of you, whenever you wake up, to when you start working, what is that time? Can you reduce that time from it being like 2 hours down to something like 20 minutes? Is that possible? Because the number one productive thing that we could do is just start on the work. And then how do we reduce the gaps from our work period A to B to C to D? Now, of course, you have to figure out where you are on the landscape of entrepreneurship, but I'm just talking about my current situation and kind of talking to myself about my own growth of where I am to where I want to be. So yes, I can narrow that time between when I start my work to when I wake up and reduce that time. Literally just wake up, use the restroom and get fresh and just start on what? Content production or content planning and communications. So I can do more content and I can deliver them in more interesting ways. To go from a long form to several short forms, to creating collaborations, to creating like infographics, to creating a fun Q&A, to creating entertaining, educating blend of the two, where it's not just boring information, which is not boring because it's very impactful when it comes to those of us that are involved in Project XYZ, but to also add some flavoring, add some content creativity to that, so that it's not just information, but rather like I could do all informations at my desk, but I choose to have these different environments, stranger environments, so that I can kind of capture more of my life and share that with you guys. So delivering the content in more unique and more digestible ways. Not everyone is a long form video watcher. Not everyone is on the same platform. Not everyone consumes content in the same way. So there can be audio clips, there can be pictographics, there can be animations, there can be voiceovers of things, there can be visual aids. All of those things I can explore the range of content creation to help convey the same message. Something that I haven't really delved into is text, writing out long forms about Project XYZ. So I can start to expand my capacity to produce content if I have, for example, let's say 3 ways that I normally make content. Let's say it's long form, shorts, both videos, and some pictures, like flyers and things. Can I expand that to 9? 3xing the forms of content that I produce so that audio clips, podcast type, text only, long captions, B-roll voiceovers, those are areas that I can explore the creativity of content creation. Then we go into communication. So content is like the funnel. So right here, these are views. So from views, we get people that are interested of what we're talking about, and it narrows in, like people that comment info under our posts. Those are getting the views and going into the more personalized DMs. It's going down in the DMs. So here we are going from the content views to communication, which is where we have personal communications to help them cross the bridge of where they are to where they want to go. It's like, hey, I'm missing this bit of information that I need in. And something that my wife has suggested is when I get those questions in the DMs of like, hey, I didn't understand this particular part, or a question that was not even addressed, is instead of addressing it to that individual alone, person name, I can just take that question and take a screenshot of it, make a short form 30-second, 1-minute video to say, hey, great question, John, Mike, Suzanne, and here is the answer for everybody. So in that way, I'm producing also content around the individual communication that is serving both that specific individual and everyone else that was wondering the same thing but didn't have the time or the courage or the action to message to get that answer that could have been holding them up. And if I do that for all the questions surrounding that particular project, then it covers the different pieces that people are missing. So all of this stems from doing research around the more hours devoted to the work, and then zooming out to say, okay, what exactly have I done in my, let's say, 6, 8, 10 hour plus devotion to my craft? What did I learn? How can I improve that? How can I serve more people? How can I amplify what it is that I'm doing for few and start to do this word called scaling? And by becoming more of a authority in our space, by becoming more of a responsible individual that is able to manage a larger group of people by doing things like, taking an individual question from one, because I tend to answer the same question a multitude of times across the DMs of people that have seen the same content, and I can address it through more of an amplified answer that everyone can watch. So it's those things that I'm starting to be a lot more mindful of, is that these are my IPAs. Figure out yours. And the more I can do of this, of course, the content needs to be posted and this needs to be replied. Those things drive ultimately the sales and the conversions into dollars that allows for the tapping into of quality through upgrading our models of delivering those IPAs. And then we can have either the breathing room or the resources of staff or other help to explore the new. Before we dive into the realm of the new, which is very attractive, very luring, we are missing the immediate low-hanging fruits of just putting in the volume, putting in the hours that leads to the discoveries of what works and what doesn't work. And that is where I am. I truly want to feel good at the end of my day, knowing that I put in maximum amounts of hours, or pushing myself to put in the effort that I know is missing between here and there. And the magic is in the work that we are avoiding. Am I working enough hours to see the results that I want to see? No. So how can I expect those kinds of results? I shouldn't. I shouldn't even be disappointed. I should either feel like, hey, I need to control more of the inputs and let the outputs happen on their own. I cannot just be thinking about the outputs and think, okay, how do I get to the outputs? The only thing I can control is my inputs. And I can scale this up and see what response happens here. Does it go up or down? And then I can do more of what I want the outcome to move in the direction of, which is up. These are simple concepts, but turning them into practical steps is what I aim to do, both for myself and for you, through the self-discovery journey of where I feel I'm missing out on right now, to zoom out of my busyness. And the only reason that I'm doing this right now is because the Wi-Fi is down, giving me the chance to look at my situation from a 40,000 zoomed out canvas, where I can see, oh, like, it's simple. Just start doing more. Start measuring the amount of hours that I devote to what it is that I'm doing, seeing the input, calculating the actual minutes, messages, communications, content, and seeing what it actually drives the results to be. And then from there, I can continue to reiterate to figure out what is working, what is not working, but it only happens through doing the volume. And I'll leave you with this one quote that I really like, which is, there is a quality to sheer quantity. Meaning, we're often thinking, oh, quality is better than quantity. But if you just do quantity, there is a beauty and art of being able to not just 10x, 100x your quantity, and that in itself is a quality. So focusing on this one thing we know, which is doing more, can open up the doors to everything else that we don't know, such as, what is a better way of doing it? What is more efficient way? We can't know that without jumping in the water and trying to move our limbs around. And over time, our bodies will start to get more and more efficient to know exactly how to move forward most effectively. So it's with that in mind that I'll be sharing with you the amount of inputs that I track, I measure, to see what it is that I can manage, and overall take me from here to there through the work and the magic that is buried in that work. With that, I hope that you got something out of my conversation with myself, and I'll look forward to doing a lot more of this open canvas examination of my life and examination of where I am and where I'm trying to go and what is in my subconscious that I can write out. Most of what I just shared with you, I had no idea that I was going to be talking about. One, it was just a string of consciousness that led me to jotting all this on the board. I look forward to doing more because it was deeply helpful for me, and hopefully it was for you. I'll catch you on the next.